Hey, it's Nico Caballero. I'm not sure why, but I'm getting some signal again. Enough to tell you that the last video wasn't me. This, guy, Dante, and I worked out, made a deal, so things should be back to.
This was Dante Calvino. From now on, all broadcasts from the Dark Place will continue under a new channel, The Dark Place with Dante. If you enjoy my weekly stories, you'll need to subscribe with the link in the description. On with the show. What are these creatures and why do they move in a pattern? Me and my husband just moved into our own home about a week ago. The house is in a very quiet area, very close to a church, and on Sundays we can hear the music of the church coming from our living room. Now, my husband works very early hours. He goes to work at about 5 in the morning. Where we live, 5 in the morning, it's still pretty dark out, and I wait with him on the curb for his ride to work. Yesterday morning, my husband said that he saw what looked like dogs walking in a circle motion in the light in front of the church. I looked, but thought nothing of it as it just looked like stray dogs looking for food. But this morning was different. As we got outside, I realized the neighboring dogs, as well as my dog, were barking non-stop as if warning us of something. My dog especially kept almost pushing me back into the yard, but I dismissed her. That's when my husband saw the dogs again. At first we saw only one of them, but quickly turned into 2 and then 3, then 4, walking in the light in front of the church in almost a circular pattern with their noses pointed upwards. I thought it was strange, but I didn't try to lean into it too much until the biggest dog, about up to my waist, moved away from the circle, but still in the light, and stared directly at us. It stared for a few seconds, then quickly moved towards a tree. The dog walked past the tree, but what emerged from the other side of the tree wasn't a dog, but a black human-like figure, maybe about 7 or 8 feet tall, staring directly at us. The figure also just stared at us for a few seconds before it went behind the tree, and the dog emerged from the other side and just went back to moving in the circle-like pattern. When my husband's ride finally arrived, the light shined on the dogs, and their eyes didn't reflect the light like most dogs' eyes do. Their eyes were almost hollow, like their eyes were absorbing the light and not reflecting it. I must mention, I did not feel scared or threatened. I felt calm, while my husband turned into a nervous wreck. What are these creatures? I can't find anything from the research I've done. Can someone please explain this to me? With that chilling account, I had to hear more. Rarely do you see such a blatant transformation right in front of you. I went on to ask some questions about the other reactions people had to these creatures. Did the person who was picking up your husband see anything strange too? I'm also wondering what your husband's point of view during this was. Did he see the same humanoid or anything else? The person that picked up my husband only said that he has never seen such a big dog in this area before. My husband did not see the humanoid, only I did, but he said he felt very anxious and uncomfortable and kept leaning on me for comfort. He told me that his instincts told him they weren't dogs, something else, and he just couldn't look away. I should also mention that when my husband's ride arrived, the other 3 dogs just vanished, and only the big one was left. If you don't feel troubled by them, and they're minding their own business, simply leave them be. If you can see them and feel at peace and want peace, then trust they can pick up on the sentiment. We live in South Africa, and in our folklore there are mainly entities that try and lure you into following them. These stories were told to scare children as to not walk around alone or not to follow a voice that they know should not be there. But I haven't heard of any tales with similar types of creatures. I'm wondering if any neighbors saw it. I spoke to one of the neighbors. They said that they did see the dogs walking around and thought it was strange for them to walk in a circle like that, but she ultimately just brushed it off to some weird phenomenon. The other neighbors just dismissed me when I asked them, or they just refused to talk to me altogether. Again, it's frustrating, but in paranormal cases, you'll often find you get an initial reaction of apathy or outright denial, even when the experiencer would have no good reason to lie and make up a story. You know, what could this person gain from greeting their new neighbors with, "Hi, nice to meet you. Have you seen any shape-shifting dogs around?" Obviously, it's a kind of social faux pas, and for someone to be reaching out like that, they must have been genuinely worried. I think it wouldn't hurt for everyone just to be a little bit more open to possibility, if not just to hear someone out and give them some chance at closure or explanation. I once saw something like this. Across the very busy 4-lane street from my house, there was a mechanic's shop and a local dive bar. For months, while I was sitting outside smoking cigarettes at night, I would see what looked like shadowed shapes moving between the shop and bar. Sometimes I'd see them on the roof of the shop, other times inside the shop, in the bar's parking lot, etc. The shadows seemed to notice me seeing them, but wouldn't communicate with me. I've had an NDE, near-death experience, when I was a teenager that left me with psychic gifts. I know, eye roll. After a few weeks of this, I started to wake up in the middle of the night to blaring sirens outside. I jumped out of bed and walked outside to see the bar in flames, a raging inferno. 2 people died in the fire, sadly. There isn't much more information about this event. My first gut instinct is that it sounds like it could have just been some shady operations going on around the bar. Whether it be burglars, some of the bar employees, or just some local drunkards. The fire might even just be a coincidence, like some badly wired neon sign that finally gave up the ghost. Or, if it were regular vandals, the dark shapes in the night, they could have intentionally set the fire. On the other hand, giving this person the benefit of the doubt, there could have been darker things in progress, something beyond this world. But sometimes an apparition may be a sign, something reaching out in hopes to warn us before catastrophe. Update. So this morning I read all of your comments and decided I needed to take a video of this encounter, but when me and my husband went outside this morning, there was a weird sense of dread outside, but the dogs weren't there. It was almost too quiet, and we got the sense that something was watching us. My husband got very anxious the moment we stepped outside and was nervously looking over his shoulder. When his ride came, the person who picked us up said that he felt almost a rush of anxiety when he turned the corner and just wanted to leave as quickly as possible. I should also mention that I have the ability to see and communicate with spirits. I've had a few encounters with supernatural creatures, and my husband has had a very strange experience with a demonic entity, but nothing is ever compared to this situation. Just the fact that I felt calm while my husband was anxious tells me that something is just not right. I think they seem to know when you're taking too much interest in them. They don't seem to want to be caught in video in your case. I have a post here somewhere about a man I saw daily who kept disappearing too quickly each time I looked down the field. As soon as I made the decision to watch him more closely, I never saw him again. Maybe they're aware of our intentions. I would notice as I went up to a certain field each day when dog walking that I always had the feeling to turn around and look back down the field at a certain point. There would always be an old man walking across the bottom of the field. It happened the same way every time, no matter the time of day. I didn't want him to think I was staring, so I always turned away before seeing where he went. But if I turned around again after that, he would be gone. I said to myself, Next time I see him, I won't care if he thinks I'm staring. I will keep my eyes on him to see where he goes. I never saw him again, and I remember thinking, if this was something supernatural, they must be able to read our thoughts. Maybe just thinking that is what stopped me from seeing him. Keep your doors locked at night and don't go outside no matter what you hear. It's a tale as old as time, but there's a reason we tell it. Stay safe out there, and if you're up for it, I hear they like meat and peaceful melodic songs. I don't know where they got that from. If there's ever a knock on your window, door, etc., do not answer or show any sign that you heard it. Otherwise, you'll be inviting it in. There's a strange confluence between sightings of strange entities and the understanding that you're more safe the less you acknowledge them. This happens especially in stories of black-eyed kids. Case after case, they'll knock on doors and ask to be let in or ask for help getting somewhere. But for whatever reason, they seem to need permission before they have some power over you. Maybe they just need you to believe in them. With the end of this story, there is one glimmer of an explanation. Farm animals infected with listeria can develop brain inflammation, causing them to act strangely and sometimes walk in circles. Dogs are not as susceptible to the bacteria, and if they do get infected, it's more likely to affect their digestion or put their whole body into shock. While it's not at all common in dogs, it is technically possible for their brains to be inflamed in the same way it affects sheep and goats. If these dogs were infected, it could explain the circling. However, there is no rational explanation for the transformation that dark figure took. My boyfriend encountered something unexplainable near Holmdel, New Jersey. This happened a little while ago, and I also want to mention I was not there for the encounter itself. However, I find it hard to explain. My boyfriend and I live in Jersey. He's not a spiritual person and doesn't believe in Bigfoot or any kind of cryptid. That was until one day he was driving late at night on the back roads near Holmdel. It was completely dark outside and he was driving alone. Out of nowhere, he was suddenly startled by a bony, pale, hairless, and near humanoid figure. It cleared the entire road in 2 gallops. It was huge. He said its hind limbs were contorted and bent unnaturally like some sort of deer. In utter fear, he just kept driving and didn't stop to investigate. I could tell it scared him half to death when he told me of the story for the first time. I understand it's often easy to confuse animals outdoors at night with limited visibility, especially when you're driving and the encounter happens in a split second. However, we struggle to find an explanation for the color, size, and shape of this thing. I can't think of any local animal that could resemble this description. Through friends and family, we've also learned that the surrounding area has had high paranormal activity for a long time. I just wanted to share this spooky story and maybe find anyone else who's had something similar happen in New Jersey. I have seen many others describing sighting something similar out west. From Navajo land to Shasta, I was shocked that something like that was seen out here. We aren't even close to the Pine Barrens. Funny enough, I used to live in a small town called Griggstown, New Jersey, back in 2010 or 11. My friend and I saw something very similar to what your boyfriend is describing across the road while driving one night. The Jersey Pinelands have some really strange happenings. Rarely do you hear of things wandering in populated areas like Holmdel. Usually it's around Browns Mills and Pemberton areas. Holmdel actually has a history of being a very haunted area, from what I've learned. Had a friend who's lived his entire life there. He saw everything you could think of over the years, from orbs to apparitions. Not trying to make Holmdel seem like a creepy or weird place at all, this was just my experience. Quite frankly, if he said it had wings, this discussion would have veered off into Jersey Devil talk. Lots of stuff happened back during the Revolutionary War in Jersey. Funny stuff happening in Holmdel wouldn't be a surprise. I also live in Monmouth County, right on the border of Holmdel and Aberdeen, New Jersey. We have a lot of activity in this area, and especially in our home over the past 30 years. I won't drive at night on these roads because most of them don't have streetlights and have a big drop-off. Be safe out there. First thing I thought of is some kind of animal with hair loss, from mange or genetics or something. You should have your boyfriend look at pictures of hairless bear, deer, etc. and see if any of that looks right. It was a woman on a horse, all white. She wasn't ugly and didn't see me until she was very close to me. I was walking to my grandpa's house right at dusk. She rode right past me, but I didn't get the feeling she was trying to scare me. The horse saw me first and reared its head up. She looked down to see what startled the horse. She was completely surprised. She kept going. I ran home as fast as I could. I'm sure that was startling, but it sounds insanely magical, and I wish I could see something like that. I was glad I saw her because others told us they had seen her, but it was hard to believe. Now I know it was true. There are deer men in those woods, my dear. Deer men in those woods. Stags and does with arms and toes walking around the woods. So never go near the woods, my dear. Never go near those woods.
This was Dante Calvino. Let me know what you thought of the format for these stories, or if you have one of your own to tell. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more mystery every week.